Today is August 4th, which means that today, exactly 1 year ago, I posted my review video on War Thunder, and it did pretty well, so I've decided to make a tradition, and today you'll hear about my War Thunder opinions again. Assuming you don't click off a video, of course, which I'm sure you won't, right? Anyways, today's video isn't gonna be exactly like last year's, but that's because I think it'll be a little bit better this time. So strap in and let's get right on into the review. So to start off the video, I thought I'd give a quick explanation to what exactly War Thunder is. So if you already play the game, this part likely won't be of interest to you, so I recommend just skipping through this part. Anyway, War Thunder is a multiplayer team-based PvP game where you play as a variety of different vehicles ranging from tanks, planes, and even ships. Nobody really cares about ships in this game, so I won't really be talking about that part of the game. Just know that naval is not too fun or well made, but a great place to farm silver lions. The way these game modes work is that you're able to create a lineup of vehicles and take them into battle. The way you unlock these vehicles are by getting research points, which you get from various different actions you can do in the games themselves. Whenever you are playing a certain vehicle, you are only researching the same type of vehicle in the same nation's tech tree. So even in ground modes, you can still research planes or helicopters. Speaking of game modes, War Thunder has 3 different game modes for 3 different vehicles. Arcade battles that are quick, enjoyable, and very forgiving. Realistic battles, which take more time, are more realistic, and usually just suck, and honestly isn't all that forgiving. Then there's Simulator, where you're stuck in first person view, have no markers or any help, and has a lot more rewards than the other game modes. Simulator was made to mimic real life as much as possible, but I still don't think it's as realistic as DCS, for example. These game modes are shared across the vehicles, so you have ground battles, air battles, and naval battles, and all these 3 do have arcade, realistic, and simulator. So to quickly explain the game modes themselves, Ground Arcade lets you spawn in several vehicles a lot easier than in realistic, and occasionally lets you spawn in planes and helicopters with one click of a button. Ground Realistic lets you spawn in only your lineup with tanks and planes, and I honestly have no idea how sim works in ground. For Air Arcade lets you spawn in whatever you have in your lineup, but they have smaller maps and allows you to reload mid-air. Air Realistic can either spawn you on the airfield or in the air. You can choose yourself, but most people do spawn in the air because it's faster, but you only have one single plane with 1 life. So if you get shot down, you have to load into a new game. And Sim is kinda similar to Realistic, just that you are in first person and you have more objectives to complete rather than just shoot down the enemy and bomb bases. You can also spawn in basically infinite amount of times in Air Sim. It just costs you SL to spawn in instead of something like spawn points. I want to start this by saying that I don't hate War Thunder, and I don't want to see War Thunder taken down or become unpopular. If I did hate War Thunder, I wouldn't be playing every day and have 2,500 hours. So please, don't type in the comments that I should play War Thunder if I don't enjoy it again. Thank you. Now to my actual overall opinion on War Thunder, which is pretty mixed. On one hand, it's a high quality game with frequent updates that don't suck, but on the other hand, I find myself struggling to hit the 2 battle button every time I'm in the hangar, because despite everything good about War Thunder, the in-game experience is almost always insufferable and unenjoyable at best. There's many problems with not only the game modes you play, but also stuff outside the game modes themselves, which we'll unpack more upon later. But for now, just know that my opinion on War Thunder is very mixed, but overall I do like War Thunder. So for this part, I want to say why I keep playing and what's good about War Thunder. First of all, is the quality of the game. It's very bad or buggy from time to time. Cough cough, very often, cough cough. But when the game works as intended, it works pretty well. And the earlier ranks are designed very well, relatively speaking. And the game is quite enjoyable in ranks 1 through 4, and the grind is honestly not even bad until rank 5 most of the time. This is coming from the perspective of a guy with premium time and premium vehicles, but I do honestly think that the grind isn't terrible before rank 5. The grind after rank 4 though is another thing, which we'll get into the next part. Something else that's enjoyable about War Thunder that keeps me playing are the times I feel like I've succeeded. What I mean by that are the times when I just get a game when the kills just keep coming in and just stacks and stacks of kills. Just get more frequent the more I play and the better I get. Something I'm kinda proud of are my high kill games, and how they progress upwards in both air and ground battles as I kept playing. In air, I slowly go from sucking at the game to consistently being able to get aces in almost any airplane, and then eventually getting my 9 kill game. And in ground, I also went from sucking to getting 7 kills, 8 kills, 9 kills, and then a 12 kill game. Unfortunately, I've never gotten a nuke, but I can imagine the moment I get it, I'll be shot down by some sweat and I'll never be able to drop a nuke. Something else that's good about War Thunder, which arguably could be bad, but what I think is good is that War Thunder is really good at making me forget the bad times when I'm not playing. When I'm watching or thinking about War Thunder, I just remember it being a good game, which is honestly not that true. And here's the bad, which is probably gonna be the longest segment of this video. There's so much to say that's bad, and a lot of it has probably already been said, but I will be honest and say everything I think is bad about War Thunder on the surface level. First, we can start off with the most vital part of the game modes, which we all play in. Specifically, the realistic game modes are horribly designed and are just absolutely terrible. Grand Realistic only has capturable point, which get insanely boring and it's just a farm kills on the people going for cap simulator. And ARB is even worse since all you can really do is bomb bases and shoot ground targets. These things are supposed to be the main objective that you're supposed to do, but they just suck. I mean, there's still people who bomb bases or shoot ground targets in the air, but most of the time these are premium players who are just trying to grind, or people who suck at the game and can't get kills, sometimes both of them. And in ground, you're inevitably gonna have to capture the points eventually to win the game, but most of the time you aren't gonna kill every single enemy before the ticket bleeds, so you just have to capture the points. But most of the time these points are placed in horrible spots that just gets you killed, and it gets insanely repetitive. I'm not that sure on what they could do to make good game modes, but I'm not the one working a job all about coding or designing the game. Something else that sucks about War Thunder is the grind, which you could say is a skill issue or cope, but I generally do think that the grind is just terrible regardless of what you do. If you want to grind free to play, then you're going to spend a lot of time slowly grinding RP and SL, but of course you can skip that slow, painful grind by spending 60 plus euro on a premium that will give you infinite amounts of SL and a lot more RP. By the way, this a lot more RP is still pitiful, especially in ground RP. Many times I've gotten 5 or 6 kills, but because the game only lasted 9 minutes, I only got 8k RP because the game wasn't long. There's nothing I can do about that, so you're stuck to having no RP for a lot of effort in ground. Meanwhile in air you just get 30k for doing literally nothing. Another premiums are supposed to be faster than free to play, and the developers have to earn money some way. I'm not trying to say that they shouldn't make money, but I don't think intentionally making the grind free to play hell and pricing their premiums at organ levels of pricing is a solution to make money, especially when they just keep releasing new premiums that are more expensive, higher rank in BR, and sometimes just a scam because the plane you are buying is worth 40 euro at best, but because it's a rank 8 it costs up to 80 euro just because it's a rank 8 and not a single other reason. There's also another part of a grind that sucks. That's right, I'm talking about the squadron vehicle grind. It's even slower, even relative to normal grinding, and as an example, I've gotten 7 vehicles worth of squadron RP since I started playing the game 2 years ago. Now, I haven't gotten 20k squadron RP every 3 days since then, but I've still been very consistent with the squadron RP grind. I honestly think there's more negative stuff you could say about War Thunder, but I don't want to sit here for 30 minutes talking about every bad thing I could think of. Just know that there's good things about War Thunder and a lot of bad things about War Thunder. Speaking of bad things and War Thunder, the company that made the game, Gaijin. Gaijin is the company behind War Thunder and quite a few other games, but War Thunder is the most famous, and they are the reason that War Thunder sucks. Duh. But I honestly think Gaijin is one of the worst and greediest companies out there, and they're not even American. I don't have much to say about Gaijin, but if I didn't love War Thunder so much, I honestly think Gaijin would be one of the companies that I completely boycott just because they suck that much. But I honestly do wish that if you start playing War Thunder, just don't give them money unless you really want to play the game a lot. In fact, Gaijin loves their money so much that if it gets threatened, they immediately cave to the players' demand, as seen in the review bombing in 2023, where new players dropped drastically because of the review bombings on Steam, and Gaijin seriously had to listen to the community for them to stop review bombing. Gaijin also has some serious nerve, because in this example that I'm talking about, they tried asking the community to stop review bombing in a passive-aggressive way by saying that they're causing Gaijin a lot of money loss, which is just an insanely out-of-touch thing to say, especially during that time. But on a more of a good note, here's some things that I think would improve a game and the enjoyability of it. First of all, game modes do need a serious rework, or we need new game modes that will offer some more variety. The game modes are just very repetitive, also really badly designed in the first place, and I think just some new game modes that are permanent would make the variety better and would make the game more fun. I think if the grind was a bit more fair towards free to play, then that would be great, since you basically have to offer all your free time to get anywhere without premium. Speaking of, I think premiums are severely overpriced, and I think Gaijin should base the prices more on how much vehicle is actually worth and not just what rank it is in. And I would also like to see some more consistent and quick way to grind Squadron RP since it is insanely slow. Something else that seriously needs improvements are the maps. The maps in ground are terrible to fight in and are sometimes even favored towards one side, and the air maps are just really bad because most of them are too tiny for 16 jets with Fox 3 missiles that have several tens of kilometers of range. So yeah, that's my 2025 War Thunder review slash overview, and you know there's gonna be another one next year at the same date, so subscribe for that. And maybe even for my other content as well, since I do post semi-frequently, mostly on shorts, and I'm gonna be honest when I say that I do get a lot more views than subs, which I personally don't like, since I'd rather have the same 1,000 people that watched every time I post, rather than 1,000 different people that watched every time I post it, if that makes sense. So subscribe. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.